rule of Yahweh to go to Mashyach, he already knew that Pharaoh wouldn't let him go. He already knew the firstborn situation. He already knew this. He actually was prepared going in. Right. You know, movies don't never get that right, man. They always act like it's just a shock to him that Yahuwah is taking the firstborn. But Yahuwah even told him every situation that would happen when he went in. So this is Exodus 11:1. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, yet I will bring one more plague upon Pharaoh and upon Mitzrayim. Afterwards he will let you go from here. He shall let you go, and he shall surely thrust you out from here altogether. You need to remember that. The thrusting out is in haste. It's something that has to be done right then and right there. And Yahweh gives a specific instruction for those people at that time. And we'll look at that in a second. Speak now in the ears of the people, and let every man borrow of his neighbor, and every woman of her neighbor, jewels of silver and jewels of gold. And Yahweh gave people favor, a Hanan, in the sight of Mitzrayim. Moreover, the man Moshe was very great in the land of Mitzrayim, in the sight of Pharaoh's servants, and in the sight of the people. And Moshe said, thus says Yahweh, about midnight will I go out into the midst of Mitzrayim. Now, when we hear midnight in our term, we think 12 a.m. But that's not what it is. Our days start at Arab, or evening. And because they start at evening, in middle of the night, midnight, then this is going to happen. That's the context of that. And all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim shall die. From the firstborn of Pharaoh, I'll say it straight out like that sits on his throne, even to the firstborn of the maidservant that's behind the mill, and all the firstborn of the beast. Why do you think at this time right here where our Pasach is coming, they had the little thing on Facebook, show your firstborn? Come on, man. This stuff's spiritual, man. This ain't just no game, man. And you sit back and I'm peeping like, bruh. And then I seen his name, Melanated Travelers. He shared. I said, man, he right on, man. Let me share this post, because that's what it was. Right at the time when we talked about Mashyach and Aharon going into Mitzrayim and Yahuwah destroying the firstborn, then the world is saying, put your firstborn up. Why firstborn? All the kids people got nowadays. You know what I'm saying? All the kids, be honest with you, all the kids people got nowadays, yeah. It was show your firstborn to show how much they look like you.
Oh yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
It's not none of this is coincidental, man. And there should be a cry throughout all the land of Mitzrayim, such as was none like it, nor shall it be anymore. But against the children of Yaladim of Yasharal shall not a kalab or dog move his tongue. The dog shall not even bark against the children of Yasharal. That's power, man. Man, against man or beast, that you may know that Yahweh puts a difference between Mitzrayim and Yasharal. Not only shall the dog not bark at you, but the animals that you possess in Goshen or Goshen. So watch this. And all your servants shall come down to me and bow down themselves unto me, saying, get you out. They throw them, kick them straight out. And all the people that will follow you. And after all the people that follow you, and after that I will go out. And he went from Pharaoh in a great anger. And Yahweh said unto Moshe, Pharaoh shall not listen to you, that my wonders may be multiplied in the land of Mitzrayim. Why was his heart hardened? That Yahuwah shall show his wonders in the land of Egypt. And Moshe and Aharon did all the wonders before Pharaoh. And Yahweh hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he would not let the children of Yasharal go out of the land. Now I've heard people, and we're going to 12:1 now. I heard people argue that this is the 400 years and slavery done ended and it's about to go down. Man, they don't understand scripture, man. I'm finna read 12 and we're gonna keep reading. I want y'all to see something. They don't even understand scripture. And so let's talk about this, because Yahweh wanted to show his wonders in Mitzrayim. And Yahweh spoke unto all Mashyach and all Aharon in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, saying, this month shall be the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. This is why we call this Abib. Abib in the Abrit tongue means to spring forth or spring.
Right.
That's when the new year should start.
Right.
And they know this. Spring starts the new year. That's why when you go look at their calendar, September should be 7.
Right.
See? October. An octopus got 8 legs. October should be 8, not the 10th month. No in German is 9. Ain't that something? Deca is 10. You see what I'm saying? So you see that the order is off. But they knew that this is the beginning of months for us right here. This is the 14th day of the first month. Hallelujah. Speak unto the assembly of Yasharal and say, in the 10th day of this month shall you take every man a lamb according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for a house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbors next to his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall you make account for the lamb. So every household gets a lamb. The Mashyach wants to house in every person. Every household gets a lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish. Mashyach YAHUSHA, the Messiah, he was without blemish. No crime was in him. A male of the first year. That's why Shaul said, or Apostle Paul said, the Mashyach or the Messiah is a shadow of things to come. This is the shadow. And it says, a male of the first year, you shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole multitude of the assembly of Yasharal shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 side posts and on the upper door posts of the houses wherein you shall eat it. So the blood would strike across the doorpost. Same thing, because the doorpost was made from ox. And the ox means a tree. The Messiah, when he was executed on a tree. It's the same thing. Same thing. It's no different. And so when people say that the New Testament is not Torah and it's Roman and all that, they don't understand. Because they don't understand that book is actually Hebrew as well. We're Abrit people. And so, watch this. And they shall eat out the flesh in that night. Watch this. They shall eat out the flesh in that night. If you look at Matthew 26, he said, prepare the Passover so we can eat it together. When they took of his body, and we're going to read that and we're going to do it. When they took of his body and they took of his blood, they spiritually ate of his flesh in that night. So the time that he was at the table saying, take, eat, this is my body. And take, eat, this is my blood. That was a spiritual eating. It wasn't cannibalism or anything. That's why when he said it in Yahuhanan, or what they call John 6, when he said, unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you have no life in you. They were turned off by that. They were like, that's cannibalism. Because Torah does teach that you should not drink blood or eat flesh.
Right.
So, but they didn't understand the spiritual thing that he was saying. Because he wasn't killed in that evening, if you look at it. He was killed between the evenings. He actually, when he gave his body for them to eat of the Pasach, it was still spiritually happening. He said, this is my blood of the YAHUSHA, or renewed covenant. We'll look at it in a minute. And it says, and they shall eat out the flesh in that night, roast with fire, and matzah, or unleavened bread. Unleavened represents no crime in it. It's innocent. And with bitter herbs they shall eat it. Eat not of it raw, or sodden at all with water that's boiled, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. You shall let nothing remain of it until the morning. It shall not stay there until the morning. Huh? Man. And that which remains until the morning, you shall burn with fire. We know Mashyach went to the pit to preach to the pit prisoners in Shaul, with a place of torment, of fire. It's the same stuff, man. And thus shall you eat it with your, here you go, with your loins girded, your shoes on your feet, your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It's Yahweh's Pasach. The Pasach is the sacrifice. Why did they have to eat it in haste? We read last chapter that the Pharaoh was going to push them out in haste. Everybody go. So we don't have to eat it in haste. Because we're not leaving. We're not being thrust out. We don't have to have our loins girded or staff in our hand. This is their remembrance. We're remembering how they had to eat it. For I will pass through the land of Mitzrayim this night. This is very key for us in this time. And I will smite all the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, both man and beast. And against all the Alahai of Mitzrayim will I execute judgment, YAHUSHA. Now let me say that in English now. Against all of the powers of Mitzrayim, or Egypt, all the unks that people wear, all the Egyptian deities that they worship. He had beef with them. Why do you think the Illuminati and stuff always have Egyptian things? Remember Kanye West had that, not one man should have all this power. And he had all them Egyptian demons around him. Everything you see when it comes to hip hop is Egyptian based. But Yahuwah already knew this. So all the powers of Egypt will I execute judgment. He has beef with them. Understand? So when when people went to see Black Panther, that was something that he had beef with. Because Black Panther actually got its powers from. You get what I'm saying? It's right there. So the things that offend Yahweh should offend us. You get what I'm saying? So in the Illuminati, and when you look at the mainstream media, everything that we consider melanated always stems to Pan-Africanism and stems to Egyptian magic or Egyptian lore. It's actually a comic book that these guys made. They turned it into a cartoon. It's based on Egyptian power and Egyptian magic. But all those powers are against our power.
Right.
And it says, let every soul be subject to the higher power. Yahweh is the higher power. And that's why the people, like just like we were talking about, show your firstborn. Demons know this. The Kemet, people in Kemet say, man, this is your origin, blah. This is the origin, black. You know, Kemet's made this and that. But they don't even know that Kemet teachings even came from white men. It was a demon he summoned. I ain't gonna say the demon's name, but that demon called him in a museum through his wife. His wife was a medium, and told him that he was gonna teach him Egyptian lore. Look up Aleister Crowley in his young days. He wore all kind of pharaoh and Egyptian garb. Right. So even your Kemet comes from what white people have tapped into.
One of the most famous pictures. Black people. One of the most famous pictures is him with a stick in his face and a pyramid on his head.
Right. I mean, look at the nation we in. Like literally everything, like from the Pope to our nation, it's all Egyptian and white.
All Egyptian, man. Even the Washington D.C., everything is Egyptian. Matter of fact, when a president is elected, he stands between the obelisk and the other part, and it's the male and female genitalia that gives him the power in Egypt. Yeah. Even when he puts his hand on his book. So that's what Mitzrayim is the best word for that. Not Egypt, because Mitzrayim means house of bondage. We're back in Mitzrayim now. This is Mitzrayim. Right. So to understand this, people say, well, you can't keep the Pasach or the Passover in a land that's not Jerusalem. But they kept the first Passover in captivity. Right. They were in Egypt when they kept the first Passover. So you're literally telling us not to remember the first Passover because we're in the same area they were in the first Passover in the land of Egypt. Right. Because America is not America, it's Amaruka. Amaruka means land of the flying dragon. That's where they got that from. It's not Amerigo Vespucci, he got that name from there. Amaruka is just like Tupac. Tupac's name is Tupac Amaru Shakur. It means the shining serpent. Where did he get that from? Because the Incans here, their leader was Tupac Amaru. And then Amaru, Amaruka is the land of the feathered serpent or the feathered dragon. People don't understand this, man. So even in digging deep, we take on things that's against Yahuwah without even trying. Right. You know what I'm saying? Afeni knew what his name meant. You know, then she gave it on to Tupac. Right. You know, why didn't we ever heard Tupac? We ain't heard Tupac around black people. That's a rare name. But it came because our people were over here worshiping serpents. So, back to this. And it says, and the blood shall be to you for a mark. Pay attention to that. Upon the houses where you are. And when you see out the blood, I will pass over you. Hallelujah. And the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Mitzrayim. And this day shall be unto you a memorial. So we're not keeping the actual Passover that they kept. So when people doing all this arguing and fighting over where should we keep the Passover at, we're doing a memorial. This is just a rehearsal of what he did. We just remembering what he did. Hallelujah. And you shall keep it a feast to Yahuwah throughout your generations. So you telling me Yahuwah didn't know we was going to go into captivity and slavery.
And
but he going to put a burden on us throughout our generations. Go ahead, Ak.
And he said keep it a feast.
And it shall be a feast.
So what does feast mean?
Ordinance forever.
Right.
To eat.
Feast.
To feast. A Kadash feast. Right. He knew this. He knew where we would be at. So he gave the instructions for us to eat this feast, no matter where we were, from our children to our children's children. So remember, 7 days shall you eat unleavened bread. Even the first day shall you put the leaven out of your houses. So we put all the leaven out of our houses the first day. Because Pasach is considered unleavened bread, even though it doesn't begin the first day of unleavened bread. Because you eat unleavened bread with Pasach. And that's why you see unleavened bread in the book of Acts. And then they put Bloody Bunny there. You know, the worship of eggs and rabbits and foolishness. I call it Bloody Bunny. But anyway. And it says, your first day you shall put out leaven from your houses. For whosoever eats yeast or leaven from the first day until the seventh, that soul shall be cut off from Yasharal. And in the first day you shall have a Kadash assembly. That's why we must meet on that high Sabbath. You notice that when the Messiah was executed, that next day was a high Sabbath. They asked for his body down because they didn't want to profane that high Sabbath. It shows it right there in script. Nothing is against Torah in what we call the YAHUSHA, renewed covenant, and what they call the New Testament. And it says, no manner of work shall be done on that day, except what each man must eat. So even on a high Sabbath, he gives us kindness to say, you got to fix your food. So no work, but fix what you must eat. Man, this is beautiful. And it says, that only may be done for you, and you shall guard out the feast of unleavened bread, for in the selfsame day I have brought you and brought out your armies out of the land of Egypt. Therefore, you shall guard this day in your generations by an ordinance forever. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at evening. That's what this is. You shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day or 21st day of the month at evening. 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses. For whosoever which eats hamatz or leaven, even that soul shall be cut off from the assembly of Yasharal, whether it be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing with leaven. In all your habitations you shall eat unleavened bread. And Mashyach called for the elders of Yasharal and said to them, draw out and take a lamb according to your families and kill the Pasach. Yahuwah, as Yahusha in the flesh, was selected by the elders. They brought him to Caiaphas, the high priest, and they selected him to be executed.
Right.
Just like this. It wasn't the common people that did this. It was the high priest, Caiaphas.
Right.
No.
So they selected the lamb. Man, this is crazy. It's a shadow. You can't miss it. And so it says, you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin. Remember when he said, I thirst. They took hyssop and they put a sponge on it and they dipped it in the basin.
Man.
It's the same thing we seeing. So how is this against Torah? And you shall strike the lintel, that's the post, and the side post with the blood that's in the basin. None of you shall go out of your door of his house until the bukar, or the morning, or daylight. For Yahuwah will pass through and smite all the Mizraim. When he sees out the blood on the lintel and on the two side posts, Yahuwah will pass over the door. That's where we get Passover from, because the word Pasach is the same word. And will not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. And you shall guard out this thing for an ordinance to you and your sons forever. Then why did it end in Christianity? Why did we stop doing this?
Right.
Why did we stop remembering?
Except forever.
And now we got bunnies with eggs and helicopter Operation Egg Drop.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Pastor in a bunny suit. How did that happen? Man, I'm telling you, man.
Catholicism.
That's it. The mother whore. And it shall come to pass when your children shall say unto you, what does this mean by this service? Why are you doing this? You shall say, it is the sacrifice of Yahweh's Pasach, who passed over the houses of the children of Yasharal and Mizraim. And he smote out the Mizraim and delivered our houses. And the people bowed down their heads and worshiped. And the children of Yasharal went away and did as Yahuwah had commanded Moses, or Masha and Aharon, so they did. That's the mark. Obedience. Right. So when they bowed their head, they went and obeyed. People wondering what the mark is now, especially with this COVID-19 thing. We keep hearing people say, don't take the mark of the beast. cashless society. The mark is disobedience.
Come on, teach.
The mark in your, I'm finna show you. It's in the scripts. We finna get there. The mark is disobedience in your right hand and in your forehead. Why? Because it's the work of your strong hand and the thoughts of your mind.
Come on,
That's the mark. Why everybody all around arguing, oh, the mark ain't in the Old Testament. I just showed you right here. I had a dude tell me who trained under Jews, the mark, you will see the mark of the beast nowhere in the Old Testament. He said, I'm Tanakh only. You don't see it there. I see it right here. Because the mark that Yahweh gives is between your forehead and your right hand to do and obey. I'm finna show you. All right. Let's go, man. We finna talk about this. And it came to pass that at midnight Yahweh smote all the firstborn in the land of Mizraim, for the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne to the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. And Pharaoh rose up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Mizraim, and there was a great cry in Mizraim, for there was not a house where there was not one dead. And he called for Mashyach and Aharon by night and said, rise up. He called them at night. That's why they had to be ready in haste to eat it. Right. Rise up and get you forth from among your people, both you and the children of Yasharal, and go. Serve Yahweh, as you have said. Take your flocks and your herds. See, at first he didn't want to do none of that. He wanted them to worship there. And also, as you have said, and be gone, and bless me also. And the Mizraim were urgent upon the people, that they might push them or send them out of the land in haste. For they said, we be all dead men. And all the people took out their dough before it was leavened, that your unleavened bread, the kneading troughs, being bound up in their clothes upon their shoulders. And the children of Yasharal did according to the word of Mashyach. And they borrowed of the Mizraim jewels of silver, jewels of gold, and raiment. And Yahweh gave out the people favor in the sight of Egypt or Mizraim, that they lent unto them such things as they required. And they spoiled out the Egyptians. And the children of Yasharal journeyed from Ramses to Succoth, about 600,000 on foot that were men. So that's not counting the wives. And then it says besides children. That's a lot of people. Man, you gotta look at that like that. And a mixed multitude went out with them. A mixed multitude.
So there was some additions there with them.
Right, a mixed multitude.
So it's not just the Yasharal.
A mixed multitude. A mixed multitude went out. And flocks and herds, and very much cattle. And they baked matzah cakes of the dough, which they brought forth from Mitzrayim. For it was not leavened, because they were thrust out of Egypt and could not tarry. Meaning they could not wait. Neither had they prepared for themselves any food. Now the sojourn of the children of Yasharal, pay attention to this, who dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim or Egypt, in the land of Canaan, they and their fathers was 430 years.
Right, not 400.
Watch this. But it was the land of their sojourning, meaning that when Yahusha or Joseph was there, it counted down 400 years. They wasn't slaves when Joseph was there. They were slaves after. If you do the math, it's like 200 plus years of slavery.
And I was hearing two different things at one point. I was like, which one is it?
Right.
Okay.
So even in that, he told Abraham, he said, your children will be sojourners in the land 400 years and be oppressed. So we argue slavery for 400 years, and that's not even right, because it's 430 years of their sojourning or being travelers. Go ahead, Mark.
But like even for the math, it was if you took the for the length of their life, and if they had their son the moment right before their death, the year or that year before their death, then that would actually be like the 200 years. But if you just took it up like their lifespan and put it like halfway or however, if they would actually have a baby, it would actually not even come close to that 400 years.
See, so the sojourning of that time, the sojourning of that time was how long they were strangers in the land. 430 years. So people arguing over nothing, man. They're not even looking at the script and what it actually says. Hallelujah.
I didn't even know there was an argument.
Oh yeah. It was all over Facebook for a while.
It's good that you're away from all that stuff. It's not even necessary.
That's crazy.
And it says, and it came to pass at the end of the 430 years, even the self same day it came to pass that all the hosts of Yahweh left Mitzrayim. So they 30 years off even in their argument. Even if they was right.
Hey, one point too. Because I know a lot of us deal with a lot of comets, Egyptologists, and all that kind of stuff. And a good point is that, because I've had some people tell me that they trace their lineage back to Egypt. And my thing is, okay, maybe you did, but you need to understand you came here with us.
Right. See, and they don't
understand that.
Just because you may be Egyptian by blood and you trace it back, a mixed multitude came out by YAH.
So what they need to understand is that there were people in their lineage who had enough sense to follow Yahuwah.
That's right. Because it says even people at that time feared Mashyach and respected him.
Yep.
They respected Mashyach. Because he said, what? I will make Aharon or Aaron a prophet, and you be Elohim.
Yep.
Boy, we don't talk about that. Mashyach did not do the talking. Aharon did the talking. Mashyach just stood there. That's a creepy sight, man. To have a man just standing there, and his brother doing all this talking, and he just standing there focused.
Especially with somebody you grew up with and you was raised with.
There you go.
Yeah. And you just seeing somebody else talk for you.
Man, ain't that powerful? Man, I'm telling you, man, when y'all go give us increase. When we do this movie for real, it's gonna be sick. Not no Charleston Heston, that little stiff hair. There's gonna be none of that foolishness. It's gonna be real. And here we go. 42. It is a night to be much observed. Look at that. How can we forget it then? It is a night to be much observed unto Yahweh for bringing them out from the land of Mizraim. This is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Yasharal in their generations. Christians have no right to touch this. Take it from you to tell you it don't exist. We don't do that no more. It's a shadow. None of that. They have no right to touch this because all the children of Yasharal must observe it.
Through generations.
I will teach this to my grandkids and my grandkids, great-grandkids, my great-great-grandkids. They will know this as long as I'm breathing. Because it is a commandment that it must be observed throughout all our generations.
Always right.
And Yahweh said unto Mashyach and Aharon, this is the ordinance of the Pasach. Let no stranger eat thereof. Watch the context. But every man's servant that wants for money, when you have circumcised him, let him eat thereof. A foreigner and a hired servant shall not eat thereof. In one house it shall be eaten. You shall not carry forth out the flesh abroad into another house, neither shall you break the bone thereof. Let me share this real quick. And we're going to go. Yahusha, before they went to break his legs, they wanted to see if they were dead. They took to the thief that was beside him. They hit him. And they broke their legs. Because when you break the leg, it makes their body drop. When they were executed, it caused asphyxiation. I studied the science of it, man. It was actually a guy, I got to find that book out, I'll share it. It's the science of the execution. But what happens is, the weight of your body is up on your feet. You holding yourself up to breathe. So all your weight is holding your body up while you're being executed. So when they break your bones, it breaks your legs and it drops your body and you suffocate. It's called asphyxiation. So when they went to go do it to Yahusha, they went to hit him. They seen he was already dead. Why? Because he screamed out, Ali, Ali, lama asbantani. That means my all, my power, why have you left me? Watch this. Not my father. Not my God. His power. He is spirit. So he's screaming out, my all, Ali, Ali, lama asbantani. Why have you left me? Because it says at that point, the rule departed from him. King James says he gave up the ghost. But it was actually his spirit. Because Yah is spirit. And they that worship him must worship in spirit and in truth. So he said, my power, why have you left me? And he gave it up. And when they realized he was dead, they didn't do it. They just poked his side and water and blood gushed out.
And in turn, they kept Torah.
These two bear witness. Huh? Man, the book is clear. It's nothing off.
What book was that you was reading that studied the execution like that?
I'll find it. It's called The Science of the Execution, or The Science of the Crucifixion. I read it a long time ago. I mean, I hadn't even become a Christian or nothing. And I was like, man, this is deep. Yeah. But I'll find it and I'll give you the actual name of it. And it scientifically breaks down, like, for one thing, when it says he prayed and his sweat became like great drops of blood. That's actually a medical term because he was under so much duress and stress that it says it busts your capillaries and they bleed off into your sweat glands and you can literally sweat drops of blood. So science proves that scripture is real. But I'll find the book. It's amazing. But so it says you should not break a bone thereof, so his bone was not broken. That's actually Psalms 22 too. That no bone should be broken.
Man, I used to live life just honestly. I was thinking like, if my bone get broke, that means I'm wicked. I used to literally think just from reading that psalm, I was like, man, every time I get hurt, I'm like, man, like, dang, what I did.
But the thing was, it was for Mashyach.
The
whole prophecy, Daoud being a prophet. That's what he says in the book of Acts 2. Daoud being a prophet, prophesied Mashyach. And so that prophecy was about him. If you read, matter of fact, if you read from, I believe it's Tahalim or Psalms 18 all the way through 22 to, I think it's Tahalim or Psalms 27, Yahuwah, 23, Yahuwah is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me through green pastures. He lays me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. That's about Yahusha going into paradise. Read it in the context of his execution is 22. And then his resurrection. Read it in that context. And you will see Yahusha right there.
Man, I know you about to do that.
Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Where the valley of the shadow of death is? That's Shaul. That's the pit. That's not Daoud talking.
I mean, you can
I shall fear no evil, because you are with me. Thy rod and your staff shall comfort me. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of Yahuwah forevermore. Who dwelling there forever? Who eternal? Boy, that thing gangster. Man, that's the rule, man. He gave me that. Man, he walked me through, and I'm like, man, all I see is Mashyach. The whole thing you read, it's amazing. And that's why you see, watch this, reading on the way through, it's the Mashyach, because in Psalms 91, or Tahalim 91, Hashatan quotes that to him. Remember, he says, cast yourself down, lest you dash your foot on the stone. He was quoting Psalms 91 to him. Man. Yahuwah YAHUSHA, man. That's it. I'm done with it. All the assembly of Yasharal shall keep it. And you know, they brought him, Caiaphas, they brought him among the people. And they called Pilate out. All the assembly seen this. That's why they said, let this blood be on them. I don't like when I say us. And our children. Because, you know, the blood was on them. So people ask, well, if the Messiah did what he was supposed to do, and died for us, why then do we have these same curses? Because your forefathers told them that if you execute him, we'll take the curses upon ourselves. So you put the very curses on them. Because he wept when he rolled through and the children were screaming, Hoshana, Hoshana, which means save us, save us. And they told him to be quiet. He said, oh, Yerushalayim, how I would love to take you in like a hen takes in her chicks. But you have rejected me. He wanted to save them then. But they didn't want it. So if they didn't want it, it opens it up for everybody else. So here we go. Man, Yahuwah, Isaiah 56, man. That book. And when a stranger shall sojourn with you or travel with you, he stays with you. Listen to this. And will keep the Pasach or Passover to Yahuwah. Let all his males be circumcised. And then let him come near and keep it. He shall be as one that is born in the land. For no circumcised person shall eat of. You notice he didn't say, don't let the white man eat of it. Don't let the Asian eat of it.
Come on.
Huh? Why are we teaching all this when Yahuwah didn't say this? He says if a stranger comes and stay with you, he can keep the Pasach too. Except the man, he becomes a native and not a stranger anymore.
Teach it,
He becomes Yasharal. What are we missing? That's why Mashyach, he circumcised our hearts. Because that circumcision happened to Abraham first. Before he could even get circumcised and circumcise his firstborn son, which is Ishmael, who was 14 at the time. Before he could even do these circumcisions, his heart had to be circumcised first. So how do you holler at Goyim and say that they can't keep the Pasach or they can't be grafted in if Abraham wasn't even circumcised in the physical first? His heart had to be circumcised.
Teach,
man. Somebody lying, man. In order for him to receive Yahuwah and he feared Yahuwah, he says for those who you must first believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. Before Abraham can get circumcised, he had to believe in Yahuwah YAHUSHA. He said, Abraham rejoiced to see my day.
Right.
It said, you're not even 50 years old yet. And Abraham rejoiced to see your day. Before Abraham was a YAH. I am. And they picked up stones to stone him because he made himself equal with Yahuwah. Equal is the same person. Right. Because, okay, if he's just a prophet or he's just a man, how could he know Abraham? And how could Abraham rejoice to see his day?
Right.
Man, let's keep going. This is all the Mashyach. And it says, and a stranger shall keep the Pasach. 49, one Torah, one law. One Torah shall be to him that is homeborn and unto the stranger that travels among you. Look how clear that is. So Christians can't take it and say it's just for the Gentiles. And Yahshua can't take it and say it's just for us.
Right.
It's for both if they desire it. Thus did the children of Yahshua as Yahuwah commanded. That's the mark. I'm finna show you. Mashyach and Harun, so did they. As he commanded by them, they did it. And it came to pass in the selfsame day that Yahweh did bring out the children of Yahshua out of the land of Mitzrayim by their armies. Watch this. 13:1. I'm almost done. And Yahweh spoke unto Mashyach, saying, sanctify. That means to set aside all the firstborn, whatsoever opens the womb among the children of Yahshua. Why? Because I did not allow your firstborn to be destroyed with Mitzrayim. So now you offer your firstborn to me. Right. Watch this. Both of man and of beast it is mine. And Mashyach said it unto the people, remember, Zakar. See that? At this day, in which you came out from Mizraim, out of the house of bondage, for by strength of hand Yahweh brought you out from this place. There shall be no leaven be eaten. This day you came out in the month of Abib. You did the thing on the calendar, watching. Right, Lord. You came out in the month of Abib. That's what it says. And it shall be when Yahweh shall bring you to the land of the Canaanim, and the Hittim, and the Emerald, and the Hebron, and the Yebusim, which he swore unto your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, that you shall keep out this service in this month. But watch this. Here's the problem that people don't see in this too. That was their lands. You were strangers there before Yahweh gave it to you. So even when you kept aside there, that was not your land until Yahweh gave it to it. He told you who land it was, the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Emites, the Hivims or the Hivim, and the Jebusites. Right here. That's their land. But you still have to keep this service.
Right.
Man. 7 days should you eat masa. Or unleavened bread in 7 days. It shall be a feast unto Yahweh. Masa shall be eaten 7 days. There shall be no leaven be seen with you. Neither shall you be leaven seen in all your quarters. Watch this. And you shall show your son. You shall show your son in that day. You must teach your son how to keep this. If you don't teach your son how to keep it, you done broke Torah. You see that? And it says, saying, this is done because of that which Yahweh did to me when I came forth out of Mizraim. Watch this. It shall be a sign, a mark unto you upon your hand, and a memorial between your eyes. Watch this. That Yahuwah's Torah may be in your mouth.
The mark.
That's the mark. Watch this. For with a strong hand has Yahweh brought you out of Mitzrayim. I'm going to show you something real quick. You shall therefore guard out this ordinance in its appointed time for year to year. I'm going to read that again for you. Exodus of Shemot 13:9. It shall be a sign unto you upon your hand, and a memorial between your frontlets or your eyes, that Yahuwah's Torah may be in your mouth. For with a strong hand has Yahweh brought you out of Mitzrayim. You shall therefore guard out this ordinance in its appointed time or moedim from year to year. And when it shall be, Yahweh shall bring you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore you and your fathers to give it to you. You shall place apart unto Yahweh all that open the womb of every firstling that comes of a beast which you have, the males shall be Yahweh's. Watch this. And every firstling of an ass or a donkey you shall redeem with a lamb. That shows you unclean animals can't be accepted right there. If you have a donkey which is unclean, you got to redeem it with a lamb. And if you will not redeem it, you shall break its neck. Don't offer it as no offering or no burnt fire. You done profaned it.
Right.
You done destroyed it. Man, come on. And all the firstborn of man among your children shall you redeem. You offer them to Yahweh. You dedicate them with the circumcision. You cut flesh. You leak blood.
Right.
And it shall be, watch this. And it shall be when your son asks you in time to come, saying, what is this? That you shall say to him, by strength of hand, Yahweh brought us out of Mitzrayim from the house of bondage. And it came to pass when Pharaoh would hardly let us go, that Yahweh slew the firstborn in the land of Mitzrayim, both firstborn of man and firstborn of beast. Therefore I sacrifice to Yahweh all that opens the womb, being males, but all the firstborn of my children I redeem. Look at that. Watch this. Here we go. 13:16. Exodus 13:16. Aha. And it shall be a mark upon your hand and on your frontlets between your eyes. For by strength of hand Yahweh brought us forth out of Mitzrayim. Watch this. Let's go to Revelations 13:16. Now I just read to you Exodus 13:16. Let's look at Revelation 13:16. Let's see what it says. I'm going to go up a little bit. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to start at 16. Exodus 13:16 was a mark on your hand and on your forehead that you obey Yahweh. Right. There's a mark right there. Watch this. And he causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or on their foreheads, that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of the name. Same thing. Look at that. Yeah. Here is wisdom. Why did he say here is hukmah? Because you have to understand that to understand what this is. Let him who have understanding of Binah. Everybody without understanding been telling you what the mark is. 666. Right. A chip in your hand. This and that. Trump.
Obama. Nancy Reagan.
Nancy Reagan.
I went too far back right there.
And calculate the number of the beast. Watch this. That word in AbybYAH is symbol. For it is the symbol, not a number, of a man. And that symbol is chi, sti, stigma. That in Greek means IHS. If you look at IHS, that's the Roman Catholic Church's symbol for JHC. Right. Or who they call Jesus H. Christ.
Right. Wow. Yeah, no hasty something.
Yeah, it's the same symbol. So what does that mean? The mark of the beast is disobedience. He's the man of crime. Remember, it said the beast will be the man of perdition. Why is it a man? Because what's the image of JC? A man. It's right there. And they can look this up. It's in the Strong's Concordance. It ain't it. Right. It's symbols right there.
Teach it out.
And so what the mark actually is disobedience. So everybody hollering what the mark is, but if you ain't obeying the Torah, you already got the mark.
Teach, Ak. Teach.
You have the mark of the beast in your forehead because you already placed your mind to be disobedient. To walk in disobedience or be disobedient. But if you have the mark of Yahweh, remember he said he saves those who has his mark in Revelations. That's the mark he's talking about. The mark of obedience. Man, let's look at this. So, we read the Mashyach, right? So let's go. Man, this lamb right here. This lamb is amazing. When you see this lamb in Exodus, let's go 13 again. I'm going to go past 16 because I want to finish reading this. And it says, and it came to pass when Pharaoh had let out the people go, that Elohim led them not through the way of the land of the Philistines, nor through, although that was near. It was close to them. They could have went straight to the land of Philistines, for the power or Elohim said, lest perchance people repent. They'll turn around when they see war and return to Mitzrayim. He cared enough to say, I don't want to scare them. Look at that. That's the song Aki sung, Don't Fear. Powerful song. He was caring enough to say, he could have took them right there, but instead, I'm going to take them around, turn and go back to the house of bondage. So let's look at this. This 26 right here. We finna take her the body with this, and we're gonna read it. But I'm gonna show you this right quick. This is Matthew YAHU or Matthew 26. And you notice when it starts, I'm going to scroll down though. And it came to pass when Yahusha had finished all these sayings, he said to his Talmudim, you know that after 2 days is the feast of Pasach, Passover. That's what he kept. Not the Lord's Supper.
Right. Teach.
Not no Last Supper, because he came back. That's your last supper. Y'all don't make it up live, bro. Man, come on. The son of Adam is to betray and crucified. So we scroll. Let's scroll. Let's scroll down to 26. We're going to go to Mashyach YAHUSHA 26 and 26. You can read that whole thing and you'll see that he kept it because he had to become the Passover lamb for us. But let's look at 26 and 26. Man, bro. And as they were eating, Yahusha took out the bread and he blessed it and broke it and gave it to his disciples and said, take, eat. This is my body. This is the Passover right here. So people say, well, how does that happen when he died right here and it was in the middle of the day? It was because he did this offering for his body right here. He was showing he was the lamb spiritually. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of this, for this is my blood of the Brit Hadashah, or renewed covenant, which is shed for many, not all people. You got to accept this right here. For many, for the remission of crimes. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of the fruit of this vine until the day I drink it anew with you in my Father's kingdom. You see that? This is amazing. He said, but I say unto you, I will not drink this henceforth of the fruit of the vine until I drink in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung a hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. And Yahusha, and then said Yahusha unto them, all of you shall be offended because of me in this night. For it is written. This is the same scriptures he quoted. They say he didn't quote no scripture, but I see nothing but scripture. I will smite out the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock shall be scattered abroad. And after I am risen again, I will go before you in Galilee. Kapah answered and said unto him, though all men shall be offended because of you, yet I will never be offended. Yahusha said unto him, amen, I say unto you, and I'm going to be careful when I say this, because I'm going to read it actually how it is, not how it was erroneously translated. That this night, before the dog yelps, it's not cockcrow, you can look it up. Before the dog yelped, dog were impure men. You shall deny me 3 times. If you scroll and read this actual text, turning to Matthew 27:28, the dog that yelped was Yehuda. He was sorrowful for betraying Yahusha. And in the same time, Kafar or Peter is coming into the temple and denied him 3 times. Yehuda is coming in, throwing back the money to the priest. The dog yelped. It's not cockcrow. Now that'll be a whole nother teaching we break down one day. I'm gonna show you the Aubrey. But it's the dog yelps. It's not cockcrow. They did cockcrow to make it poetic, but it was actually talking about Yehuda, who asked if he knew he would betray him way up here. If you scroll up right at 25, then Yehuda, which betrayed him, said, Rabbi, is it I? He said, it's him, you have said. So in context, he's telling him before the dog yelps, you're going to deny me 3 times. Dogs, the Aubrey people, are imputed or impure men, unrighteous men. That's what a dog is. That's why sorcerers and dogs are outside the kingdom. Not barking dogs or other dogs, impure men, sorcerers and dogs.
Also, Yahusha told her.
That's right.
He told her
he said,
it's not meat.
Go ahead.
It's not meat to give the children's bread to the dogs.
There you go. An impure person. That's what he meant by dogs. So they took cock crow, but it should have been when the dog yelps. Because the dog, he repented that he had did that, and he threw back the money, the 30 pieces of silver. At the same time, let me just scroll right here real quick. Let me show you. I'm gonna show you this. All right, here we go. Let's go right here. I'm gonna go down just for a second. Okay, this is 75. I'm just scrolling for a second just to show you this. Here we go. I'm gonna start at 70 so you can hear this, or 69. So 68, saying, prophesy unto us, Mashyach. Who is he that smote you? So they blinded Yahusha and they hit him. Who is he that smote you? Now Peter, I'm gonna say Peter or Kapah, sat without the palace, and the damsel came to him, saying, you also were with Yahusha of Galilee. But he denied it. That's one time. Before all, saying, I don't know what you say. When he was gone out unto the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that they were there, this fellow was with Yahusha, the Nazarene. He said again, denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while, came unto him that stood by and said to Kappa, surely one of them, for your speech betrays you. He began to curse and to swear, saying, I do not know the man. And immediately the dog yelped. Watch this. And Kappa remembered the word of Yahusha, which said unto him, before the dog yelps, you shall deny bitterly. And when the morning was come, this is the same story. We just turned to the and when the Bukar daylight was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against Yahusha to put him to death. And when they had delivered him to Pontius Pilate the governor, then Yehuda, which was betrayed him, then saw he was condemned, repented himself. It's happening at the same time. It's not a separate occurrence. It's not afterwards. The dog is yelping right then. He's seeing Yehuda do this. If you see the context of this script. Right. And it says, repented himself and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief and the elder, saying, I have committed crime and betrayed the innocent blood. And they said, what is that to us? You see to it. And he cast down the 30 pieces of silver in the temple, departed, and went and hanged himself. That was happening at the same time. If Kappa was denying himself at the temple, Yehuda is coming in at the same time, yelping. He's whelping. He's weeping. But we'll look at it. We're
I would
say,
that is something to look at because it's really hard to decipher, you know, it being in two different chapters. Right. You know what I'm saying?
Because when you flip, you see, because you stop at 26, and then when you flip to 27, it's like it changed. Right. But it says when the daylight was coming, he seen Yehuda coming. It's in the context of the Abrit, you see that at the same time he's weeping. He's coming weeping. The dog is yelping. This is before he actually says, I repent. He's coming into the temple. Right. So he knew, when did Yahusha tell him that? At the table. Right. He told him about the dog yelping. Right. So he's seeing Yehuda coming in sorrowful, and he like 3 times. Right. You see the context. But we missed this because we got chapters in here now, translations across cock crows and all that. But when you study it, man, you'll see that the dog that was yelping was Yehuda. Man, but I went off. But
that's good stuff,
because this is how you study the book. You don't just read it. You study with the context of what's actually happened. 100%. Because what done made us believe that it was a cock crow was these Christian movies. Right. They had this weak man and the cock crowing and him doing all this. But when you look at the Abrit, the dog that's yelping is Yehuda. Right. And he knew this was going to happen. All right. Man, hallelujah, man. But I'll do a whole deeper study on that another time. But with that being said, Yahusha is the lamb that was slain. Everything that happened to him happened in the context of the Torah we read from Shemot 11 all the way to 13, or Exodus 11 and 13. So what we're going to do, we're going to take of the body and the blood today. And when you take of the body and the blood, you are remembering. He said, this do in remembrance of me. This is the renewed or YAHSH, renewed covenant. We're doing this not to remember him as just died for us, but remembering him as taking us out of Mitzrayim, because Yahuwah is Yahusha. So it's 2 birds with one stone, pretty much. Because when you remember him and what he did at that table, it's remembering the instruction of what he told us to do anyway, is to have a feast. And he said that we're going to eat this feast again when he come into the renewed kingdom. The kingdom is not up there. The kingdom is down here. And then he gonna feast with us here. And we're going to eat with him. Man. Hallelujah. And this is the big thing that people don't see. They reject what they call the New Testament because they don't understand the Old for real. They hadn't studied it. They just instantly say that the Romans made it. But if the Romans made it, the ones who killed him, why is it all this Hebrew in him? And why did it say that the Romans, the dogs, he called them dogs? Psalm 22. It says, the bulls of Bashan have encompassed me. What were those bulls? Og of Bashan was a giant, by the way. The bulls of Bashan were evil spirits. But then he says, dogs have surrounded me. Those were the Romans, impure men. So if all this is written by Romans, why would it say that all this stuff in Hebrew is here and it leads us back to him being Hebrew? The Romans didn't take any esteem for nothing but killing him. Yeah. But the Romans wrote this book. It makes no sense. But when you look at it, all you see is the Torah, and the Messiah being the Lamb that Yohanan said he was. Behold the Lamb of Yah who take away the crimes of the world. Why? He wasn't a lamb walking up. He didn't have no lamb head. Man, he was a man. But spiritually, Yahuhanan seen the Lamb, slain since the foundation of the world. Right. This is spirit. And those who worship must worship in what? True. You can't take this on if you don't believe in the spirit world. Because in the spirit world, this is already fulfilled. It's eternal. Right. We're trying to complete something that's already satisfied. We're trying to make it there. Yeah. So when we keep these feasts, we are keeping something that's eternal. It already exists. We're meeting him at a marriage supper already.
Teach out.
Man, it's beautiful. Yes. Because we could have still been lost. But he invited us to something that's important to him. Amen. We can't take it lightly. He said, man, I want to meet you at my supper. And this is the beauty of this thing. When you actually keep his feast, this is your protection. When you eat that bread, this is your protection. When you take that blood, why? Because the same way he passed over that blood on that doorpost, he passed over our life because we're covered with that very blood. We're bought. Apostle Paul said, bought with that blood.
And then if you go back to Deuteronomy, and I think it's chapter I can't remember exactly what chapter it is, but you go back to Deuteronomy and he talks about how keeping the laws of Yahuwah, how this will be righteousness, and the people, even the heathen will say what great YAH they have that gives them such great laws, and what people are there other than this people that have such wisdom and have that do all these wonderful laws. Mm-hmm. It's like what you were just saying is like this. The obedience is the light. That's right. There's no light in just revelation. Obedience to Yahuwah is the light to the world.
Right. That's right.
That's it.
That's right. Because obeying that Torah is the beacon that they looking for. They looking for the people who actually keep it.
Right.
Because if you ain't keeping it, who are you? You one of them. Go ahead, Mark.
And then even go along with what Mr. Andre was saying, and it was talking about how the obedience is going to be a sign on their forehead and the right hand. And I want to say it's Hebrews, maybe Romans. It was talking about how instead of the priest them having to go through a priest, that Yahuwah was actually going to write the words upon their heart, and that shows even furtherly how it was one of them, but how that shows even further how it was going to be upon their hand and it was going to be upon their forehead, because now it's obedience that's shining through them from their heart and from
good stuff out.
And that's Jeremiah 31 too.
Barak Yahuwah.
Written on their law. If it's written on your inner man, that's your doorpost now. Because he said every man get a lamb in the house. Remember. So now if it's written in your inner man, it's written on your doorpost. Right. This is your doorpost. Mm-hmm. You are a walking vessel of Yahweh. So it says, keep this feast where his name dwells. His name dwells in you.
Right. There you go.
You is. He bought you with his own blood.
Are we not his temple?
No, we're not his temples. Little sanctuaries unto them. That's what he said. I will be little sanctuaries unto them. Man, come on. Like them Christians say, Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, boy.
He wasn't in backwoods churches, huh?
Yeah, one person in backwoods does scream down. Where fire, they say fire and fire gonna rain down. I was over in Collinsville, Alabama, Fort Payne church. Having fire and fire. I'm telling you, that song is powerful because it says, prepare me to be a sanctuary. He bought us and he dwells in us. So how can you argue not to keep the feast when he bought you with his blood so you can keep the feast? He knew you were going to be strangers in his land. You were going to be cast away. He knew it. And because he knew all things, he gave himself as the perfect lamb. That we don't even have to have lamb now. It's delicious. But we don't have to have it because the bread and the blood, the bread and the wine is the blood in his body.
It was very delicious.
Hallelujah.
And Deuteronomy 30. Deuteronomy 30. He says, when you after all these curses have come upon you and all these blessings, all the blessings and all the curses have come upon you, in the lands of your scattering, you're going to return to the commandments. He makes it very clear. No, Deuteronomy 28 is Deuteronomy 30. Yeah. In the land, he specifically says, in the lands where you are scattered, you are going to return.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why when they came to Yahusha and said, will you now return Yasharal kingdom back unto them? That's Acts 1, I believe. He says, it is not for you to know the times when that will happen.
Wow.
So he's saying you still scattered. I just did this as a medium to get you all back to the truth. You know, it's not. But you shall receive power. Power. After the Ruach HaKodesh has come upon you, and you shall be witnesses. See? Now the context is there. The church has never taught us that context. They just go with you shall receive power and then make up false tongues. But he said it's not for you to know when the scattering shall change and you be gathered again. Let's look at it real quick, man. That's just amazing. And then we're gonna take this and keep moving, man. Watch this. Man, awesome, man. All right, this is Acts 1. I'm gonna start at Acts 1. And this is your Greek that you're talking about. This is Lucas who wrote this. Now you want to say something Greek, I'll give you this one. Because Lucas was a Greek. But if you notice, Lucas never prayed for a person or touched anybody. He just observed what was going on as a recording. Right? The form Theophilus of all that Yahusha began to both do and teach until the day in which he was taken up. Which through the Ruach HaKodesh, or the called out spirit of Yahweh, had given commandments unto the apostles who he had chosen, to whom he also showed himself alive. He was supposed to be dead. After his passion by many infallible proofs, he came to them multiple times for 40 days. Remember that. Being seen of them, he says it, 40 days, and speaking of the things pertaining to the kingdom of Yahweh, and being assembled together with them, commanded them that they should not depart from Jerusalem, but wait of the promise of their father, which he said he have heard of me. What was the promise? The Spirit. You can't get this without the Spirit. It's the promise. It is the true covenant. For you who have truly immersed me with water, but you shall be immersed with the Ruach HaKodesh not many days hence. And they therefore were coming together, they asked of him, listen to this, saying, Adonai, a master, will you at this time restore again the kingdom to Yasharal? Like you just said, it was scattered. Listen to this. And he said unto them, it is not for you to know the times or the seasons for which the Father has put in his own power. But you shall receive power after the Ruach HaKodesh is come upon you, and you shall be witnesses unto me in both Jerusalem, watch this, in all of Yehuda and in Samaria, and unto the uttermost parts of the earth. The scattering was still happening. Do you see that?
Yes. It's good stuff.
And when he had spoken these things, they beheld, and he was taken up in a cloud, received him out of their sight. And while they looked steadfastly towards Shemaim, or in the heavens, as he went up boldly, two men stood in white apparel, and they said, Ye men of Galilee, why do you stand gazing up to the heavens? This same Yahusha, which is taken up to you in the heavens, will also come down in like manner as you have seen him go into heaven. Man. This is the truth. So he said right then that you're going to be scattered again. Because if you're going to preach in the uttermost parts of the earth, people instantly think evangelism. Right. Let's travel to Africa and show them power. But the scattering was of Jerusalem. These were his people. So you're going to be in the uttermost parts of the earth. Right. That's what we are now. And watch this. Amazingly, we're waking up in all the uttermost parts of the earth. Yeah. Yeah. We got brothers all over the world we communicate with now. Come on. Yeah. Australia, New Zealand. It's just like he said. Right. If you're going to be scattered in the four corners, you're going to be scattered in the four corners. So, I just want to encourage people to be led of the Spirit. People are trying to get you to deny the Messiah and just be, to not only believe in the old, what they call the Old Testament. I'm telling you to be led of his Spirit, because his Spirit will lead you to all truth. That's what he promised. It's not what this says. If you're led of his Spirit, it was his Spirit that spoke to me and said, come out from among them. No man told me this. You get what I'm saying? So if that's the case, his spirit can draw all men unto him. So it's not who's deep, who this and who that. It's let his spirit draw you to all truth. And that's what this lamb is. Because when you take of this lamb, you take on the body, you take on the place since the foundation of the world. This was the lamb slain since the foundation. You take of something that is eternal. We all want to know what happens once you die. Right. That's a sick. Every man wants to know that. But you have a spirit man that's trying to connect to something eternal. He's pulling on you to be in this walk. He's pulling on you to be in the truth. Because when we come in this truth, why we ain't doing witchcraft and magic? Right. You get what I'm saying? Why we ain't talking crazy like the Illuminati and them talking? Why do we go straight back to a same book that we left? And want to walk in that truth now with understanding of the book now. Right. The same book that's set in front of us in Christianity, we go back to it with more understanding of how to be obedient to it.
Come on, come on.
Man, that's amazing. You can't tell me a man crafted that. Right. That's Yahuwah bringing us back to repentance. Yeah. Because even though they translated that book, that's still his book. In the book of Enoch, 104 and 7. All the way through, read 104, says that even if you translate it from the Abrit into another tongue, if you give it the right context, you still can keep that context. Right. But if you take away from it, then you're lost. So this is why we're coming back to the tongue, back to the context, back to the understanding, because the Spirit is now bringing us all over the world. They keep Pasach right now. Hallelujah. All over the country. Yeah. We got a hoot in New York that sent us Haksamak Pasach. Right. We are being drawn to him in the middle of a crisis and pandemic. Right. We are at Shalom with his lamb.
Barak Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah. We're gonna take of his body. We're gonna enjoy the rest of it. And we will be back together. You know, when we meet again for that. And then the one 7 days later, man. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Robert, for all who watch with us, take your masa and you can do this. He said, as often as you do this, you do it in remembrance of me. You got Catholics doing communion every day, talking about they're going to get healing. That's not what he's talking about. As often as you do the Pasach, you do this in remembrance of him. You can go these 7 days and take of his body and his blood. His body, his flesh is unleavened. It means it has no crime in it. And when you take on him, you take on his personage. You take on Yahusha. And he said, if you take on him, you do it worthily before him. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
Shalom to all who watch, man. We love y'all. Habu Shalom. This is Watchman Yahshay, AbybYAH, Watchman Yahuwah. We appreciate you opening the doors for us, man.
Shout out to J New on this whole tour.
I heard he got bars. I heard he got them bars. But man, Barak Yahuwah for everybody unified and coming together in his truth, man. And as we continue to walk in his truth and grow, we all grow together. This is what Yahuwah wanted. Yes, sir. He wanted us to walk in obedience. Not in all this debating and arguing. He wanted us to walk in obedience and we all grow in him. And that's what he did. I know he did it with me on that. Less arguing, more just showing the truth. Demonstrating. Power and demonstration, man. That's what we're looking for. Hallelujah. And we're not waiting till the COVID-19 is over, then laying hands on people. That's not happening. We're going to walk in his power and we're going to walk in his...
Hallelujah.